And, I get it. In my society people don't get raped and children don't get kidnapped. But if the amount of rapes and kidnapping in my society was as large as it was on Earth, you can bet that us Pleiadian women as a group would sit our men down and tell them, you are the protectors of society. This is unacceptable. We expect you and need you to completely fix this problem of rape and child kidnapping. But then again, us Pleiadian women also see ourselves as the ones responsible for showing love and appreciation and giving help and active emotional support to men, including average men, including unlikable men, including men who aren't our friends or family, including men to whom Earth people would say we have no responsibility. And in a situation like the one on Earth, us Pleiadian women would be actively protesting to end anti-male discrimination. Still, on Earth there are so many rapes and child kidnappings, and the public doesn't know that the dark controllers are responsible for most kidnappings and so men get blamed. In that situation, I can see some women turning hostile or at least cold or callous towards average men. This is not a good thing. It's not fair to men. The average Joe never rapes or kidnaps anyone. How is he supposed to end rape and kidnapping on a world with a population of many billions of people? But I do get the anti-male hostility. This is one of the reasons why society is currently blatantly discriminating against men, yet few women are speaking out or are protesting to change that. Let's look at two quotes. Aloysia Inyumba said, "The genocide in Rwanda is a far-reaching tragedy that has taken a particularly hard toll on women. They now comprise 70% of the population, since the genocide chiefly exterminated the male population. This is of course insane, because if mostly men get murdered, then aren't men the primary victims? Certainly if mostly women would have gotten murdered, then people would be furious if anyone suggested that men were the primary victims. So then, why does a woman say that women are the primary victims, when she herself also says that it's primarily men that got murdered?" Well, similarly, Hillary Clinton said, "Women have always been the primary victims of war. Women lose their husbands, their fathers, their sons in combat. Why do a very, very few women say these things?" Well, look at the last four words of that Hillary quote, "Women lose their sons in combat." This is the dead children trauma poking its head through. That is why you have Hillary Clinton saying that women are the primary victims of war. It's a statement that is incredibly callous towards men, and it is also a statement of unresolved dead children trauma. As the final part of this message, let me mention some effects that the dead child trauma can have on some people. The dead children trauma can reduce the desire of people to start families. Now, obviously I'm not saying that the dead children trauma is the only reason why people might not start a family. For example, economic reasons are a huge one as well, but it's one reason. The dead children trauma can lead to people having sexual issues or being less interested in sex, because without sex, you don't have a child, and hence it can't die. The dead children trauma can nudge women to have a preference for tall, confident, in shape, possibly non-crying, possibly aggressive, possibly violent, possibly psychopathic, possibly criminal men. Because that's the kind of guy who comes out on top in a knife fight to the death to protect their child against some predator. Indeed, serial killers have women lining up to date them. Some women feel less safe if they're with a man who says or displays that he has deep and long-lasting emotional pain, and some women feel safer when they're with more aggressive and more violent men. It doesn't make sense to feel safer with more violent men until you realize that violent men are more likely to be able to fight off predators that might threaten their child. This reduces the fear of dead children. The dead children trauma can nudge women to be really picky, because the better genes her partner has, i.e. the more attractive he is, and the better of a protector and provider he is, the less likely their child is to die. The dead children trauma can nudge women to want to become more masculine or more powerful, such as being a female CEO. Or it can nudge women to want to see movies where tiny women beat up highly trained men 3 times her size in hand-to-hand combat. Feeling more powerful in this way can mitigate this fear of dead children. When women say they want a man with a particular trait, what the woman sometimes means is that she wants a man who has a certain level of attractiveness and income, and ideally he has that trait as well. This frustrates men to no end who genuinely have that trait but don't have the required level of attractiveness or income, and in some cases, the unspoken attractiveness requirement is so steep that it eliminates most men. I completely get why this frustrates men, and in an ideal world there would be clearer communication. On the other hand, I also get the female unconscious thought pattern of, if you have that trait I want, but you don't show the genetic quality or income to ensure that our child will survive, then sorry but no relationship is going to happen. I don't want a dead child. If a woman is asked out by a man she considers unattractive, sometimes she has a kind of slight disgust reaction. This can be the dead child trauma poking its way through, because again, being with unattractive men might lead to dead babies. But of course, if a man asks a woman out and sees that she has an ick reaction to that and potentially even rejects him harshly, then that can really hurt the man. He didn't actually do anything wrong, he just asked a woman out. This can discourage the man from approaching women in the future. Which, unfortunately, I also get. People say the worst thing she can say is no when you ask her out, but actually, she can have a disgust reaction which might really hurt the man emotionally. And I know that men don't like to admit or even consciously realize that some things hurt them emotionally, but men absolutely do get hurt emotionally. Now, to be clear, women are different, and not all women have this dead children trauma, or are affected by it in all the ways I described. This dead children trauma also obviously isn't the only factor that influences the behavior of women. Also, a woman with fewer dating options may label fewer men as being unattractive than a woman with more dating options would. Different women also rate men differently. Furthermore, people can of course increase their level of attractiveness in various ways. And yes, there's plenty that could be said about male behavior too. In my mind, neither the average man nor the average woman is to blame for the dysfunction in modern Earth relationships and for the disrupted dating scene. Most people are non-evil and are just trying to navigate life, and move towards comfort and move away from fears and pain. Painful and potentially unfair-seeming situations can be caused just by people making unconscious choices, even if no one is being intentionally malicious. Most of Earth's problems would be solved if people had a higher level of consciousness and if people cared more about their own psychological development and healing. So Earth's situation would be helped if people observed more, if people did their internal and possibly external work, and if people communicated more clearly with one another. My beautiful sisters, I am so sorry that so many of your children have died during your lifetimes on Earth. And I'm so sorry about all the sexual violence and child kidnapping on Earth. It's heartbreaking, and absolutely awful. I hope that soon Earth will move to a situation where that is a thing of the past. It is my sincere hope that this message has pointed out something previously unseen, and that healing can occur because of this. After all, observation is the first step. And what you're feeling, you're healing so long as you don't suppress it, judge it, or immediately try to change it. And to my amazing Earth brothers, yes, I know that many of you also carry around this trauma, and unfortunately many other traumas or pain besides. You are very much in my thoughts also, and I love you very much. My beautiful Earth brothers and sisters, I'm so sorry that Earth is so dark and harsh. Hopefully things will be cleaned up and made safer, and hopefully we will meet in the not too distant future. I love you so very much. Your star sister, Tunia.